right, well, thanks everyone for coming out to learn about the Red Wing Bridge project. We're excited to get into our next phase, the construction phase. And tonight we wanted to come and introduce the construction team, both the owner, meaning MNDOT and WSDOT, and the city and the contractor. So again, we're really excited and appreciative of you coming out and taking some time. You can keep this pretty informal. You can just raise your hand and ask questions at any time. We do have a formal presentation, but again, we want to keep it somewhat informal. If you got questions, just go ahead and jump into it. And so with that, there's a little bit of the agenda, what we want to cover tonight. We'll do some introductions. We'll talk a little bit about project background, community involvement, historical context, some challenges of the project. I've had some great discussions with people about, boy, there's some real tough challenges in this project, in building the project. So we'll feature those or talk about those a little bit. Construction letting results. So our letting was on March 8th, and we'll talk a little bit about our construction letting results, and the bidders, and the bid pricing. Construction schedule, construction staging, construction, a taste of what is coming, so you can kind of stay tuned for what we mean by that. A little bit about maintenance of traffic. I had a lot of questions about traffic flow, both in a permanent condition and during construction, so we'll try and feature a little bit of those in our maintenance of traffic section. Talk a little bit about public outreach. And so we'll start with introductions then. So my name is Terry Ward with MNDOT, the Minnesota Department of Transportation. And on behalf of MNDOT District 6, I'm really, again, appreciative of you taking time to come out and listen to what we have to say. There's been about 7 years plus of work on this project, and our challenge in the construction phase is to honor that work that's all been done. A lot of you, I recognize you have attended some public meetings and you're here again, and we want to honor those commitments and those discussions and public input that we've gotten already. So my office, cell phone, and email, if you want to write that down, or it's on the boards, we have business cards, feel free to take that information. And basically for the project, in terms of the owner's side, I'm the first point of contact. Go ahead and call anytime if you have questions or something that's bothering you, or you want to know, what's going on, or so we want to know what's coming down the line, just go ahead and call me. I'm also pleased to announce another speaker tonight from Zenith Tech, the construction manager, Adam Heinrichs from Zenith Tech. So Adam is their construction manager, project manager. They're the winning contractor. And he's here tonight to give a little overview of their schedule and Zenith Tech and their team and where they're from and such. So pleased to have Zenith Tech and excited to team up with them and build this project. So those are the speakers that we're going to have tonight. Some other partners, the Federal Highway Administration. I don't believe there's anybody here from the FHWA. I don't see anybody, but they're a major player in our project with federal funding. City of Red Wing, we've been working with Jay Owens and his staff, Brian Peterson and others from the city. They're a great partner. Jay, anything you'd like to say here?
Just wanted to mention that my name and telephone number or contact information is in here. I know a lot of people from Red Wing, so sometimes it's just nicer to get a hold of a Red Wing local. And I'm part of the project team, talking to Terry on a daily basis on this project, so feel free to get a hold of me if you have any issues or concerns or questions that come up during the project, and I'll be happy to track down the answers for you. So, thank you.
So Jay and his team have been just fantastic to work with, and we just look forward to continuing that relationship. And then Wisconsin DOT, or what we call WSDOT, there's a couple folks I believe here from WSDOT, Tim Mason and Diana Moss. So if you have questions, again, on the WSDOT or Wisconsin side, that's related to what we're doing construction-wise, come to me. Their contact information, as well as Dave Kep from WSDOT is over there. If you have kind of general Wisconsin DOT questions, for example, when are you going to expand the 4-lane, across the river, that type of question, that's really for that. I don't know. Sorry, folks. But they've been a strong partner. They have, some funding. There's MNDOT funding, Wisconsin DOT funding. They're I want to call them a silent partner behind the scenes because we're the lead agency, but they're a serious and important partner for us as well. So I'd like to appreciative of them coming out as well. So a little bit about project background to give you a little feel for what we're talking about, this project. So the Eisenhower Bridge, existing bridge, was opened in 1960. 2-lane continuous steel truss bridge. It was named after Dwight Eisenhower, the 34th president of the U.S., who opened the bridge in November of 1960. We have some cool video footage of that event back in the 60s, of him being in town and and opening the bridge. So main span was assembled at that time in the river on barges and raised into place. So that's an old news clipping of that bridge being built. You can see this main span out in the river on barges and actually lifted it up into place. Just some cool history. And that bridge is fracture critical. What does that mean? Well, like the 35W bridge in the Twin Cities that collapsed, which was fracture critical, existing Eisenhower Bridge is also fracture critical. One of the reasons why we're doing this project is building a new bridge and actually removing that one. So just a little flavor of the history. Purpose and need from the environmental study. Basically, the primary need by this project is to provide a structurally sound crossing of the Mississippi River, but also of 61, and then also to provide some mobility or improve mobility in Redwood in terms of traffic flow to the community. So I'm not going to read that whole thing, but that's the primary purpose and need of the project, what we're trying to accomplish. So our project layout that a lot of people have been looking at over there, I'm just going to point out a couple things for discussion purposes. So over on the Wisconsin side, this intersection is what we like to call a jug handle. It's an interesting term, but it's basically right turn movements in and right turn movements out with a solid median across there, so no left turn movements. Exactly the same as what we built in Winona on the Winona Bridge project. We also built a jug handle there. Much safer because it removes those left turn movements in the traffic. So if I talk about jug handle, I'm talking about this guy here. Over on the Red Wing side, this is what we call a button hook. So let me try this. So the existing slip ramp is two-directional today. You can go both directions to get up onto the existing bridge. When we're all said and done, this slip ramp is a one-way movement into town. It becomes two-directional down here between Plum and Potter. But this is a one-way movement into town. And then another option is to take this button hook to a new signalized intersection on 61. This piece is two-directional. So if you're in Red Wing proper and you want to go to Wisconsin, you got to go out onto Highway 61 and go around the button hook and go across. There's no longer this directional movement on the slip ramp. One direction in, and you have an option, you can take the button hook, okay? And again, if you're in Red Wing, want to go to Wisconsin, you go through here, through a new signal, through the button hook, and out. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a feel for some of the traffic movements, and if we're talking, again, jug handles or button hooks or those slip ramp, to give you a little feel for what we're talking about. So here's a rendering of the Wisconsin side with the jug handles, what we predict it'll look like when everything's completed. Another rendering on the Red Wing side in terms of, you can see the button hook, the slip ramp, you can see the bridge over 61, this guy here. Another bridge over that access, if you will, to the back side of Red Wing Shoes. That's another structure we'll be building. And finally, one last aerial of that same area. I wanted to show this one just to give you a little better feel for, you can see this cul-de-sac on 3rd Street. So we'll be cutting that off as we build this button hook around. It just gives you a little better feel for some of the final conditions over there.
Terry, you had a question right up front here.
Yes, sir, sorry for that.
Oh, is the new bridge actually going to be a little bit longer? Or are you going to fill in some of the swamp underneath the bridge that's there now?
Yeah, the question was, is the new bridge going to be, relatively the same as the existing one? Yes. Are we going to fill in some of the wetland areas to shorten the bridge?
Drive under there?
No. So the concept, would we fill in here to maybe shorten the bridge, the new bridge, and we're not going to do that. So the new bridge will be relatively the same as in terms of length as the existing bridge. There's a different number of piers or foundations, but generally the same length.
I thought it was flooded right up to the button right now.
Yeah, is it flooded up to the abutment? I don't think the water is that, anywhere near that high today, up to the abutment on the Wisconsin side. Bob, the water's not up.
No, it's not, it's at 9.07 feet today over depth, and it's, nothing is flooded.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, so we showed those. Okay, let's talk a little bit about community involvement. I mentioned approximately 7 years of planning and design work to get to the construction phase. Extensive community involvement with a visual quality committee, project advisory committee, a technical advisory committee, some, public meetings and public feedback. So a lot of great involvement from the community, and you'll see some of the elements of that work in the project. So if you look at the top left is a meeting with the public and involvement, and Chad Hansen, our design manager, in back was, he's in the picture, kind of leading that meeting. He's passed the torch now to construction, but he's here again tonight, so thanks, Chad, for all your hard work. What I wanted to show on the bottom right is you'll see some little signs of Red Wing in the abutment, the detailing there on the abutment wall there, the wing wall. In the button hook area, there's some landscaping and some planters, if you will. And then on the bridge itself, we have 2 overlooks and spires that have Minnesota and Wisconsin on them with some ornamental railing. So you'll start to see those elements. A little bit of historical context then. So in terms of the setting, downtown historic district, specific historic buildings are within the proximity to our project, to our construction operations. Barn Bluff, actually, is a historic element, and we're well aware of that. The Trunk Highway 63 bridge over 61 is a historic bridge, a smaller bridge, it's historic. So the historical properties, we actually are going to have a vibration monitoring plan for all those historical features. So we monitor how much vibration the construction activities are creating with a mindset of protecting those historic resources. We've studied Barn Bluff quite at depth, and we have actually specific vibration limits for any work in the proximity of Barn Bluff, so that we don't do any undue harm or damage to Barn Bluff, as an example of the work that we've done and intend to do. So the historical context, we're well aware of community and the views in Barn Bluff. And then this one I thought was a pretty good slide that shows the historical buildings, the historical district, it shows Barn Bluff. Actually, the river itself, the channel is a historic channel, and the CP Railroad is historic as well. There's some historical aspects of those. So there is quite a history of historic elements or historic properties. Okay, let's talk about some project challenges then, moving on to kind of another phase here. This is a major complex infrastructure project, no doubt about it. It's a challenging project to build. Zenith Tech has come to town and with a lot of equipment and manpower and horsepower to build this project, and we're excited to be a part of it with them. Very narrow project corridor. We're squeezing in between ADM, our friends in back, they're here, and Barn Bluff and the existing bridge. That's a real tight, narrow corridor for us to work in. The peak AM and PM commuting hours or times across the river are a challenge. And I'll talk a little bit about maintenance of traffic, how we're going to respond to that. But we understand there's a morning peak hour and an afternoon peak hour commute across that river during the week for workers. Construction and post-construction traffic pattern changes. So I talked about the button hook, and I talked about the slip ramp and some new traffic changes there. So we're going to try and feature those in our public outreach. Proximity to businesses. We're working very close to some businesses. Yes?
Has the Prairie Island tribe had any input in the planning process?
Yeah, the question was, has the Prairie Island tribe have any input in the planning process? We've met with them, we've worked with them, and we will continue to talk and work with them for this project. So we've reached out to them in terms of a groundbreaking that may occur here. We'll continue to work with them on the project. Does that help you? Yeah. Good question. Okay, I've talked about the historical context, environmental stewardship, with the Mississippi River and the environment and the wildlife. If you've been watching our Facebook page, you read a little bit about a bald eagle nest and bald eagles over on the Wisconsin side that we worked through. So we'll do our best as a team to be mindful of the environment and the wildlife that are out there. Yes?
Mine was going to be on that bald eagle's nest, because you really couldn't see that until they started taking trees down. I know of at least 3 eagle's nests on the island, and that one's evident, eagles in it. So what will happen? Do eagles ever get scared off by this kind of thing?
Yeah, the question was what really happens with the bald eagle nest that we have kind of in the proximity to our project. So we're working with the Fish and Wildlife. We obtained a permit to clear the trees, and briefly, we can't clear any trees within 100 feet of that nest during the time when the bald eagles are there with what people think are eggs there. And that runs from now until roughly early July. So within 100 feet, we can't clear any trees. Within 660 feet, we can clear trees, but we have to have somebody there watching the nest all times when we're clearing trees. And the reason is, Fish and Wildlife doesn't want those eagles leaving the eggs for over 2 hours. If the eagles fly away when we're working, we have to stop if they're gone for more than 2 hours until they come back. But we can work within 660 feet. So we have a permit for the tree removal, which we've done. We're getting a permit for the rest of the job and all the other operations, and I suspect it'll be those same requirements, and we'll follow those. Okay? Good question. Okay, perception of the Main River Bridge traffic impacts and business aspects. So my recent career, I've been really fortunate. I started working in Dresbach on the bridges down there, moved up to Winona, and I'm still working in Winona on the project down there, and then now up to Red Wing. So it's been a great journey for me. In Winona, one of the issues that came forward was that a number of people in the Wisconsin side thought when they couldn't get to Winona, or the project in Winona was going to impact them so much that it wasn't worth their time to come to Winona to shop. So we had to fight the perception of Winona being open for business, easy to get to. And we had some techniques we deployed down there, but that perception could be here as well for the business community in Red Wing, that, hey, this major complex project that we're going to build is going to disrupt my commute to get to Red Wing to do my shopping and such. So we were mindful of that, and again, we got some techniques that perhaps would work here if we need to do that. And then challenging river access. On the Red Wing side, that tight corridor with the cut to the bluff with the railroad, it's real tough to get to the river. So that's just another challenge that we have to work with. So let's talk a little bit about construction letting results. The letting date I talked about was March 8th. We had 4 bidders, 4 contracting teams that submitted bids. Zenith Tech, Adam and his company were the low bidder at $63.4 million. And then we'd like to give you a little bit of Zenith Tech team background, if that would work. So Adam?
Absolutely. I'll start with a little bit of company background. As you can see, we're Zenith Tech, but you'll see underneath there, we're a Waldeck Group company. And just a little background on us, we've been around for over 85 years as a group of companies in the heavy and highway industry. We have backgrounds in every aspect of roadway and bridge construction. We are new to the Minnesota DOT, so a lot of people may not be familiar with us. We have been bidding projects now in Minnesota for about 2 years. So we're working over at Grand Forks, we're working up in the cities, and we're really excited for this opportunity to come down here with our team. So we're bringing our construction team, we're bringing foremen, superintendents who have 30-plus years of experience in building bridges very similar to these structures. We have a big background in building very tight urban interchanges, so we felt this fit our core competency, and we feel like we put together a good game plan. We have over 20 subcontractors that will be working with us to complete the other aspects of the work out here. And we're very excited for this opportunity to be working with MNDOT.
Question for Adam?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about construction schedule then. So the contract start date, I've had a number of questions. Hey, Friday is the start of construction. Well, Not necessarily. The contract start date, when the clock starts ticking on the contract time, is Friday. Adam will talk about kind of their operations or their schedule in a little bit. Contract completion date, when all work is to be completed, is August 20th of 2020. That's building the new bridge, all the roadways, everything I've showed you, plus remove the existing bridge. There's a schedule or a completion for completing a temporary bridge in Button Hook, including the new Trunk Highway 61 signal system by April 2nd of next year to place traffic on it. So to get across the 63 bridge that spans Highway 61, which we have to remove and rebuild, we're going to build a temporary bridge. We'll build part of the Button Hook and a temporary bridge to get across the existing bridge. And that'll happen, it's slated to happen this summer, so that the first thing out of the gate next spring is we can put traffic on that. We don't want to run traffic on that temporary bridge over the winter time for this first winter. Open the Red Wing Shoe parking lot access by November 16th of 2018. So right out of the gate, we're going to close the road that goes to the Red Wing Shoe parking lot, backside. There's a span underneath the Highway 61 bridge. The road goes under there, we're going to close that. The access to the backside of Red Wing Shoes will go away relatively soon. And it will be restored when we build a new bridge and their access comes off of Bluff Street. And again, by November of 2018. Open the Highway 63 slip ramp to traffic by September 24th of 2019. That's between Plum and Potter only. That's not coming from Wisconsin getting into Red Wing on that slip ramp. It's only the piece between Plum and Potter that will open at that time. Open the new Mississippi River Bridge to traffic by September 24th of 2019 as well. So a little over 2 years, September 24th, 2019, open up the new bridge. We'll have traffic on the existing bridge while we're building it. We'll move it over to the new bridge when we start our demo operations on the existing structure. Okay? Adam, if you'd like to give a little overview then of your schedule.
Yeah, Terry gave a great overview of the overall dates in the contract, but I think I'll primarily focus on our work for this year so everyone knows kind of what it will look like this year. As he said, the contract starts May 5th. We're still working to get a lot of the environmental permitting in place, vibration monitoring plans in place so that we can protect all of the elements around here correctly. That being said, we're looking to move in on the Wisconsin side and start on the north side of the new river crossing here yet this month. So in the next couple of weeks, you'll see activity on that side. We'll clear the trees out. We'll start building our temporary access to actually construct the bridge elements down below. And we'll start working on new fills because the new fills on that side actually have settlement periods before we put traffic on them of up to 12 months. So we want to make sure we get on those early and get those in place. So that'll primarily be what you see for the next couple months. We are working to get our vibration monitoring in place, as I said, on the Minnesota side, which will probably take us to around July before you see any major activity on that side. So for the time being, you'll see some utility relocations that are ongoing over there. But in July, you'll see some of the old buildings that need to come down starting to be demolished. We'll move in down by 8 a.m. and start preparing the area for constructing the new pier that goes along the existing pier down next to the rail yard. And then later this summer, you'll see the Button Hook ramp actually being built, raising the grade there and constructing the temporary bridge this fall. And then as Terry said, we want to have everything in place so that we can move traffic onto the temporary bridge early next year and then start constructing the permanent bridge over 61, the retaining walls, the roadway, where Highway 63 actually crosses right now. A lot of that will happen next summer. And then throughout next spring and through next summer, you'll see the rest of the bridge come up. You'll actually, next spring, you'll see us start to set girders on the Wisconsin side. So the Wisconsin side is actually concrete girders, and those will start going in place early in the year, and we'll construct that deck and pour that deck and have that completed next year. The steel girders we have to set during a winter shutdown, the winter of 2018-2019 to navigation. So we'll be out there actually connecting the spans over that winter, And then in the spring of 2019, we'll go into constructing the deck over the main crossing. And as Jerry said, then we have to have that crossing ready to open by September 24th of 2019. And all the traffic will be pushed on that, and then we'll start removing the existing bridge over that winter of 2019 and 2020. Yes?
Combining your own time and your subcontractor's time, by season, how many man hours do you expect for that day?
That's a good question. I don't know as far as overall. It's substantial. And, every big project, it's a lot of man hours.
When does it peak? I mean, I assume there'll be a big peak.
So the peak man hours would probably be next year when we're constructing some of the substructure elements still. We're building the bridge over 61. There's a lot of retaining walls over on that side, and we'll be reconstructing the roadway, the existing 63, and the Powder intersection. So there'll be a lot going on next summer. I think that's when you'll see the peak activity and operations. Yes?
Will many of the workers be lodging in Red Wing during this construction period, or how will they get, where will they be at?
I know both us and our subcontractors, some of our subcontractors are local, so their forces are local. We are hiring locals, so there'll be locals hired on the project, but the people that do come into town, yes, they will be lodging primarily in Red Wing. There's not too many other options close by, so we can see a lot of people staying in the hotels and campgrounds around here. Yes?
Do you have a set date when you'll be closing off the entrance of 825th Street from Highway 63?
We're looking at May 15th.
May 15th, yes.
Yes.
Will there be any weight restrictions on your temporary bridge?
I don't believe there are. That was designed for full loading.
Legal loads.
Anyone else?
Will the clear span be about the same as what it is now?
Yeah, they're pretty much identical. Those piers line up.
Of the main river?
Of the main channel, yeah.
Navigational channel, yes.
Yes.
When you reroute all that traffic going back to the campground and the harbor bar and the rest back there, how much will that road handle? That road is not in very good shape currently. Is that traffic going to completely destroy that road?
I know that's a situation that we'll monitor.
And I guess if it does destroy the road, whose responsibility is it to rebuild it at that point?
Yeah,
Are the taxpayers stuck rebuilding it, or is there bridge money available if that comes about, or how will that be handled?
Let me go a little ahead a little bit, and I'll come back. So we're talking about the rerouting, detour, if you will, of this 825th Street traffic around this direction. MNDOT guidelines, which is similar to WSDOT, is that is not trunk highway traffic. It's a local traffic movement. We're not detouring Highway 63. So we're not required by statute to take over this road as a formal detour and be responsible for restoring that road at the end of the project. So to answer your question, is there money within the project, either from the state of Minnesota or the state of Wisconsin, to pay for any road damage of that?
Yeah.
No, it's not allowed by statute because it's not detour, trunk highway detour traffic, it's local traffic. So again, we won't be taking that over and bringing it into the trunk highway system, and we won't be responsible for any impacts unless the Zenith team declares this as a haul road. Meaning if they want to haul aggregate base, materials, and loads across there, then we get into a haul road situation, which is different. There could be potentially some dollars from either the contractor or the state for haul road maintenance. That's only if they declare it and use it as a haul road.
What happens to your project if the road owner sees destruction of the road and puts a very tight weight limit on
That's up to the road owner. Yeah, if the road owner decides to put a weight limit on there, close the road, what have you, that's up to the road owner, not the Department of Transportation or Zenith Tech.
it. Thank you.
So if I could go back, thanks Adam. Anything more for Adam?
You have a lot of piling to drive. Is there gonna be time limits on that?
As far as what,
You won't be doing it in the middle of the night?
no, there are restrictions.
Yeah, the
You're not there
question,
anyway, Casey.
the question was about pile driving, and first off, if I could, the piling that we're gonna drive on the project are over here, what we call piers 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the north abutment. The main river pier, what we call Pier 1, the south abutment, and these other bridges, we're not gonna drive piling. We're gonna have different foundations on those. So the pile driving is over in this area, those piers in the north abutment. We have a couple of specific restrictions. One is noise limits, and two is we have specific timelines when the Zenith team cannot drive piling and create that noise. And that starts on Friday afternoons and it goes through the weekend when the businesses, and primarily the campground, is open. That season when the campground is open. So, Adam talked about coming in, potentially driving some piling. There are time limits in terms of noise creation that they can't do that operation. Can't start before 7, can't go into the, in the evening, late evening. You can't do that operation in terms of pile driving during those weekend hours. All right, thanks, Tom. So we'll look at some of the stages from the boards over there. So 2017, stage 1A and 1B. Talks about just the bullets there of number 1 is constructing main river bridge piers. 2 is some poor soil conditions on Wisconsin. We have to actually surcharge it, build a big fill, and let that set for roughly a year. So it's going to take approximately a year to build that fill and approximately a year to settle. Construct a button hook. Again, I talked about this button hook. Temporary bridge over 61, reconstruct Highway 61 or a portion of that, and then add a traffic signal. So that's stage 1, what we call 1A and 1B in 2017. Stage 2 in 2018, then the bullets for that one, continue the bridge construction, the main river bridge, construct that new bridge over 61 while traffic is on the temporary bridge, construct a ramp and a slip ramp and bridge at Bluff Street, and that's the bridge at the back, serves the back side of Red Wing Shoes. That's next to the 2018. So the big one there is what we'll be adding on is the slip ramp construction slated for 2018. Stage 3 in 2019 then, again, we continue the bigger bridge construction, continue the highway construction of 63 over in Wisconsin. We construct the west side of 825th. The west side only there. 4A and 4B, what we're calling for 2020. Remove existing river crossing, construct Highway 61, the piece we couldn't get to under that 63 overpass, and remove the temporary bridge. Yes?
Okay, you're gonna fill all that in the other side of Wisconsin, correct? Where's all that fill coming from? They're gonna be going through town, they're gonna come to Wisconsin, we're gonna run a bottleneck right there, trucks moving in and out, or what do we got going down there?
The question, and Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, the question is, for all this fill, it's roughly a 20-foot tall surcharge of fill. Right now, from what I've seen, Adam, most sources of material are from Wisconsin.
Correct.
So the source of that material is over on the Wisconsin side, at least as of today that we're looking at. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does on the Wisconsin side, does it pretty much end after your turnoffs there then? you don't do much between, up to the Mud Lake Bridge or?
Yeah, the question was on the Wisconsin side, then where does the construction end? There's a box culvert at Mud Lake. We're actually extending past that box culvert just a little ways. We're gonna replace that box culvert. So we're gonna build a little bypass, if you will, on the east side and extend past the intersection, past the Mud Lake and that box culvert right there. There's some guardrail there if you go over there where that box culvert is. We're gonna put a new box culvert in that same location and then tie back into the highway shortly after that. Okay?
Gary?
Yeah, oh, sorry. Oh, yes,
Could you go back to stage 4?
absolutely. That one?
One more, stage 3, sorry.
That guy.
Yeah. So during this time, we'll be able to cross on 63, take the button up to get in. Now, when you begin to switch things over onto the new highway, you're going to repair the 61 underneath the bridge. How are we going to get onto the bridge to go back to Wisconsin?
So yeah, in stage 3, we're still working on the new bridge construction. We're constructing the highway, the west side. We've still got this button hook temporary bridge situation, okay? So then I think you're on the right track. And if we go
this
to
one right here.
this one right here,
So you're going to be repairing 61. So let's say that I'm wanting to go from Red Wing back to Wisconsin. How would I get there with 61 being out of commission?
61 is open.
Or
Will
will
be-
be even
yeah.
while you're building?
Yeah, while we're building, the whole time, we're not
Okay.
closing, we're never closing Highway 61.
Okay.
We'll be moving traffic back and forth, because we got
Between
multiple lanes, one lane each direction, never closing 61.
It'd be similar to what we did with the Main Street project where it's 4 lane, but there'll be 2 lane, 1 lane in each direction at all times. So that's a good question, because we're gonna be working right there and it's gonna be, gonna flop traffic as you're building different parts of it, so.
Okay, I wanted to give you a little taste of what's coming, we'll see if these work. So this is a video from the Winona Bridge project, and if you look at it, they're dewatering a cofferdam out in the river, trying to get a dry location to work. So they drove some sheeting, placed a seal, sealed it up, and now they're trying to dewater that so they can get down and work about 20 feet down from the river elevation. Zenith may not have as many barges on site because they may build a temporary trestle. But if they do, it just gives you an idea for, you know, a marine type operation and then dewatering. So that's that one. Let's try this one. This one is a video of actually going down in a cofferdam for a large pier. And we'll have cofferdams on this project. So it's a big steel sheeting box, if you will, with some ring beams, support beams. And we're going down inside of it to the bottom of the river where we've dewatered it. It's not completely dry. There's still water that seeps in. You'll see the icicles and such, but now we're getting down in the bottom, working roughly 20 feet down from the actual elevation of the river. Got some carpenters, they're building the forms to hold the concrete that we're gonna pour to build that foundation or footing. We've got a big, thick concrete seal that keeps the pressure of the river from coming up. And they're working down there. And there's, you know, some water that keeps running in there, icicles, but very similar to what we'll do on this project. Yes, sir.
So you dry piling to make your cofferdam, do you dry piling in the middle then too to hold your concrete up? Is there, that's temporary on the outside, I understand.
Yeah, drive sheeting,
Sheeting.
excavate, drive piling, excavate out, pour concrete to seal it up,
But is there anything below the concrete?
not below our seal. So to make clear, we have a concrete footing, which is part of the permanent structure, and then we have a thick concrete seal that's really, its only purpose is to hold that hydrostatic pressure of the river. But we excavate down below the bottom of the river channel for the thickness of that footing and that seal. And there's nothing below that except the piling that goes down. The piling are set up to go down to what I'm gonna call bedrock, which is quite a ways down. Does that help you?
Maybe explain what type of the drilled shafts that are used on the main pier, two main piers, that's kind of where it's going with it. Are you driving that pile or?
Yeah, the two main piers, which is Pier 1, which is on the bank of, by the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
That's what we call that Pier 1. And then Pier 2 out in the middle of the river, we're gonna do drilled shafts. 9 and 10-foot diameter drilled shafts that a big auger basically comes in and drills those down. And then we fill them up with concrete and rebar and come up out of the river bottom. So we're not driving piling on those. We're using these drilled auger shafts, if you will.
I understand.
Quite a question over here.
When you go down to the bottom of the river in those locations, what about any historical artifacts that are down there?
Yeah, the question was, what about any historical artifacts? So basically, our team is tasked with, if we find artifacts that we think are historical anywhere on the project, we have a network of people that will come help us, historians. Yeah, that's our job, to be mindful of that. And if we find anything that looks, suspicious, we have to contact them. I had a grading job years ago. One of the people I was working with came up to me and he had some Indian arrowheads. Right away, I called the historical people. That's very serious stuff. There was one more over here. Question? Somebody? Way in back, sir?
Do you have an estimated depth to bedrock?
Roughly 100 feet. Yeah, roughly. So the water depth, the deepest from the contours I've seen is out around that main river pier. It's about 20 feet deep. We have to go down about another 10 feet to excavate out to get our footing and seal and such, and then go down roughly another 70 feet, if you will, give or take. It varies, there's contours in that rock elevation. It varies as that channel has been cut out of there. Okay, so let's try another one. This is a statnamic test. We're not going to do this statnamic test on the Red Wing project, but we did it in Winona. That test, the structural strength, if you will, of the piling that we drove. So watch this. That's pretty cool. So you get to see, the point I want to make is you get to see some really cool stuff. And we'll do our best to let you know what's coming, try and get some video and post it on our Facebook page. And we want you to, if you want to be a part of the project with us, we'd like you to do that. Okay, let's switch gears then. Maintenance of traffic. Had a lot of questions about traffic over there. So keep the river crossing open. We are committed to keeping the river crossing open with a minimum of 11-foot lanes and 2-foot shoulders at all times. We are not planning to close the river bridge. I can't say that we may not have an incident, something happened, a truck could come across there, just making a move that somebody else, a commercial truck driver, and we lose a load on the bridge. There's nothing we can do about that. We may have to reroute traffic, but we're not planning on it. Okay? Again, if there's an emergency or situation, we'll have to deal with that. Maintain the river crossing traffic flow to the maximum extent possible. So what does that mean? No lane closures on Trunk Highway 61 weekdays, 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., 3 to 6 p.m. So one direction movement, one lane each direction during those hours with no flagging operations, no lane closures, no disruptions. Now, outside of those hours, with all that, someone talked about all the material that's coming in, where's it coming from, the trucking, how are you going to do all that? I suspect there's going to be some flagging operations. People are going to see flaggers out there slowing, stopping traffic so we can get trucks safely in and out of the work area. That's coming. We're going to do that outside of those hours, a lot, I suspect. Correct?
Correct.
We're going to do that a lot. Minimize the use of trunk highway detours. So I talked earlier about trunk highway detours. We have no trunk highway detours planned on the project. None planned. The local detour 825th I talked about with planning. We have a pre-approved trunk highway detour for Highway 61 bridge demolition. This is a slab span bridge over Highway 61. When we remove this, if something happens and we have something that falls or gets away from us, which could happen, we have a pre-approved detour in emergency situation. Highway 61, Flower Valley Road, Goodhue County 21, Trunk Highway 58, it's about 12.3 miles. We've got a plan for that. We'll be able to kick that in in service real quick. That's the only trunk highway detour we're even thinking about at this point in time. Minimum duration of the temporary bridge use, so I talked about not using it this winter, even though we're gonna build it this year. We could put traffic on it this winter. We're not planning to do that. That has 12-foot lanes, 4-foot shoulders. It has a 15.6 vertical clearance. So 15.6 will be what we give to our over-dimensional permit staff in terms of what can go underneath that. Minimize the duration of that slip ramp construction. So the stage 4 you asked about where we're building that, it's actually the second stage in 18 where we're building that slip ramp. Because that movement's closed, we wanted to minimize that timeline, so we're committed to do that in one construction season. Install a new traffic signal, Highway 61 prior to the button hook traffic. So we gotta have that new signal out on 61 before we put traffic on that button hook, because that's a brand new intersection. We don't wanna have button hook traffic with live traffic on 61 kind of coming together without a signal system. So that's a requirement. Minimize the Potter and 3rd Street slip ramp intersection impacts. So what do I mean by that? Let me back up real quick. Some of the things I'm talking about. I'm gonna go all the way back. I'm gonna go all the way back to here. So again, button hook, new signal, minimize the time of this construction to one construction season because of the impacts of that. Okay, and then when I'm talking about 3rd and Potter, when we're doing this work, this crossing is kept open at all times except for 28 days. Adam and the Zenith team have basically a month shutdown where this intersection will be closed with no crossing. And that's to do the utility work in there. But otherwise, when we're doing all this work, this crossing will be kept open, again, except for that 28-day or 1 month window of time that we've committed to. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. A couple more things then. Keep the Red Wing community and project partners updated on traffic pattern changes throughout the project. 7-day closure of the sidewalk along Highway 61 at Red Wing Shoes. So we have to rebuild the sidewalk along Highway 61 at Red Wing Shoes. And the Zenith Tech team has 7 days to do that work. And we've talked about the detour for 825th in Wisconsin. Public outreach, construction start, again, early May possible. Adam is saying more like mid to mid-May, weather permitting, if you will, actual start of construction. We've hired a public relations consultant to assist our team with outreach. So there's a group of consultants that have public relations expertise to help us engage the community, any questions you have or information. So again, feel free to utilize those services. Extensive outreach is necessary for project success. We understand that as a project team. It's part of our job. We're in this with the community together. It's our project. It's not just a MNDOT or a Zenith Tech or WISDOT or city project or an FHWA project. It's our project. We have a project Facebook page. How many have looked at our Facebook page? Yeah, I'm surprised at the number of people in the comments. Is great. So we're committed to keep trying to put some fresh stuff up on Facebook, keep things interesting. And if you have some topics or things you'd like to see or stories you'd like us to tell, just shoot us a note or give us a call or give us a holler. We'll do our best to accommodate. The tree removal contract and work has started. We had a tree removal contract on the Minnesota side where we hired a contractor to take the trees down. We've done that work. On the Wisconsin side, WISDOT and Pierce County is working on removal of the trees over on the Wisconsin side. City noise ordinance we'll comply with. Again, there's restrictions for the Island Campground and the Harbor Bar area in terms of when they can create noise and those pile driving restrictions that we talked about. We're gonna have emergency responder meetings, at least one before startup each year, and one when we close construction for the year. We probably will work through the winter though, at least this first year, we'll probably be going around the clock, 12 months out of the gate, so not much time off this first winter anyways. Annual events coordination, so we've been kind of tracking, working with Jay and his staff about the events that are coming, and motorcycle rides and bike tours and a lot of stuff that goes on, and we'll do our best to be mindful of those and be a good partner or steward of those as well. Sidewalk impacts and coordination, we're going to impact some sidewalks, so we've got a lot of outreach to do in terms of closing, rerouting sidewalks and that work. Utility work, we've got some sewer and water work and utility impacts, so we'll have to work closely with those affected parties in terms of our sanitary sewer and water work. Jay and his team are really great and experts at that. We're not so much, we don't do that daily in and out, but Jay's been great to work with and his team again. And then building condition surveys pre and post construction. So the buildings within the proximity of our project, we're going to come ask a lot of the owners to do a building pre-condition survey before we do construction or start construction, and then a post-condition survey, not only to protect us and Zenith Tech and the contractor, but to protect those building owners as well. So if you get a letter in the mail from MNDOT or from Zenith Tech, please open it, please read it, because we're probably asking about, hey, can we partner with you and have somebody come in and do a building condition survey? So there's some contacts. This is the board from over here. Again, myself, construction manager, Mike Doherty. Mike is in back. He's our MNDOT District 6 Public Affairs Coordinator. Does a great job, so Mike is available. Jay with the city, Brian Peterson with the city on our project team. Dave Kapp from WSDOT, Diana Moss, who's, again, she's in back from WSDOT. So our contact information is over there if you don't quite get this written down or you're interested. Questions? Yes?
Where and how are you going to get rid of the riprap on the Eisenhower Bridge?
The question was, if I heard it right, is how and where are we going to get rid of the riprap from the Eisenhower Bridge? So the riprap, the bank along the levee on the Red Wing side has a riprap along the levee protection. We have to remove that, and we'll actually be replacing it. You'll see riprap from the Zenith team as they bring a causeway to the river. They're going to put riprap for protection. We'll be putting riprap in the river to actually help get out in the river to work. So Adam, if you want to talk about where that's coming from and how we'll dispose of it.
Yeah, so all of the products, materials on this site will be sourced from local quarries, active commercial pits that are all permitted. The riprap that is removed, the other materials that are removed will either be recycled or sent to active pits to the landfill. So everything will be reused in some manner on this project. Does that answer what you're looking for? Anything else?
We have a lot of clams and mussels that are on the threatened and endangered species list. Has anybody taken a look at the river bottoms in that area?
There was extensive permitting and condition surveys that were done in this area. We've done extensive planning to minimize the amount of in-stream disturbance that we do as part of this project. And that's one of the reasons, as Terry said earlier, that we're trying to avoid using barges as much as possible so that we can avoid disturbing the river bottom and protect those species that are down there.
But nobody's actually done a survey down there?
No, there's full surveys. There's the entire area of the project has been permitted through the correct agencies to accomplish that. Yes.
What's the lighting going to be like on the bridge? Is it going to be standard street lights, or is there going to be any sort of special lights that go up on the bridge? I know the mayflies get pretty bad sometimes in the summer. Is that going to be able to turn off?
Yeah, there'll be lighting on the bridge, and the lights that we're putting up, it's the MNDOT standard light pole, but we did work with MNDOT to get those painted black, so it's going to be like the gooseneck lights that you see all along 61. that are galvanized right now or aluminum. We'll be actually doing black ones so they kind of tie into the railing and look aesthetically pleasing across the bridge. We do have, MNDOT will have the key to the room along with the City of Red Wing, the electric room, to turn off the bridge lights, and Rick Moscow will turn that off when he gets the call that the mayflies are coming, so. And we gotta remember to turn that back on, because a couple years ago, we did that and forgot to turn the Eisenhower lights back on until a council member said the lights have been out for quite some time, so he thought that was part of our design team, we were doing something, but someone just forgot to turn the lights back on, so. For the mayfly thing, we will have control of the lighting. Also lighting on the bridge is aesthetic lighting. There'll be the beam of the bridge that you can see from Levy Park will have a aesthetic light on it, kind of to light it up. And we have control on the intensity of that light to kind of create a nice line light across the bottom of the bridge. That'll be a city-owned feature on the bridge, and we'll maintain it and pay for the power for that and so forth. So we're kind of excited about the lighting. Also, the lighting now on the roads leading up to the bridge and coming into town will match the lighting that we did with our Main Street project. So that'll be more decorative in nature as you get onto our streets, to tie it into downtown where we have the banner holders and flag holders, flower holders and stuff like that on the poles. So there is a few different types of lighting going on, and part of it's owned by the city, part of it's owned by MNDOT, and it's all kind of coordinated through how the circuits are going to work and where the power rooms are going to be and so forth. So, that answer your question?
Yeah. Anybody else? Kind of the last one. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question about the bikes that are heading across the bridge.
About the bikes?
Yeah, because it looks to me like they're all coming on the one side, on the pedestrian side. That's also a bike path, right?
Correct. On the upstream side
Yeah.
of the new bridge, there's a 12-foot wide, I'll call it a shared use path for bikes and pedestrians. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's a separated path from the driving lanes.
Okay, then what happens as they get off the bridge in Wisconsin and they need to be going on the opposite side of the road?
So the follow-up question is, what happens when they get over into Wisconsin,
Yeah.
correct? So we're talking about I'll call it purple, Viking purple, is the shared youth path, goes across the upstream side of the bridge, comes to this intersection. Now what we want these bikers and peds to do, if they want to get across, there's a road there to get across. There's a concrete median here. There's no barrier, physical tall barrier prohibiting them from crossing, but there's a means for them if they want to get across to this side, if they want to, or they can continue on their way.
Thanks.
Yep. Anything else? Last call? Yeah. I wanted to go back to the lighting and say, I talked about that aesthetic lighting that was put, that's going to be on the bridge, that's visible from Levy Park. That was going to be cut out of the project because that's a city cost, complete city cost on that. And the Jones Foundation and the Red Wing Area Fund stepped up and gave the city a donation of near $400,000 to install that on the bridge project. So just wanted to get that out there and let you know that we had some local support and we're just really appreciative of that. So,
is that just going to run along the bottom, or are those pillars going to have any lights on them as well?
There's aesthetic lighting on the pillars as well, and it's illuminating the lettering that the Wisconsin ones will say Wisconsin, Minnesota side, Minnesota. So there is lighting in those pillars, and also some lighting in those overlooks at the pilasters. So more pedestrian scale lighting, so you can kind of see the path along there. So we've got that aesthetic lighting as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they gonna put a thing, I asked that question last time, are they gonna put a deal to Minnesota, Wisconsin, like I said, 2 states at one time.
Right down the middle.
Right, one that walkway or something, yeah.
I think we could do something like that, couldn't we, Terry? On the border?
The border wars, you know, fight these back, we got nowhere else to
Just stay on your own side.
Yeah.
Okay, last call. Anybody? Again, we want to, on behalf of MnDOT and our project team, we want to thank you for coming out, and we'll end on time as well. So have a good evening, and we look forward to working with you for the next several years.